Hello and welcome back to your virtual tea time. My name is Tori and I am your host. And let me tell you, if I had $1 for every time a woman came up to me and said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Iron Lady Golf? Have you talked to Lindsay before?" I would be a rich woman, Lindsay. So
wow,
you are creating quite an empire. So I commend you for that. So today we have Lindsay Knowlton, founder of Iron Lady Golf. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing? It's raining in Arizona today.
It is. And we, as you can tell in the video, I am bundled up and I'm still freezing. I am a wimp when it comes to cold weather. And the brave souls are out there taking Phoenix Open. I don't know how they're doing it out there. God bless the ladies that have kept their outfits and their heels and their outfits intact.
Oh my goodness. It looks like it's underwater.
Yeah.
Right now.
It's not great. It's not great, but still better. We drain still a little better than Southern California. So that's good.
And it's still warmer than it is here in Toronto. So I'd take it.
So Lindsay, are you based out of Toronto then?
Yes, I'm a Canuck based out of Toronto. I lived here my whole life. I went down to school in the States to Ohio State University. I leave out the Ohio State University, but I was there for, I guess, just over 4 years, which was great fun.
So I'm born and raised in Rochester, New York. So I feel like we're neighbors. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, you're basically Canadian.
I know. So go Bills. Are you a Buffalo Bills fan?
I mean, yeah, it looks pretty fun to go to the games. Yet.
It could rival the Phoenix Open, since we were talking about the Phoenix Open not too long ago. But yes, we are practically neighbors. I mean, I was born and raised there. My dad used to drive the boat to Toronto. Like that was the fun trip that we would do every summer. And yeah,
Wow. So you've been to Toronto then?
Oh, yes. Yes. I would go a lot of times. That's, our biggest metropolitan area, like big city closest to us. Cause we're far away from New York City. So it's always funny when I say I'm from New York and they just assume it's New York City. I'm like, no, I actually rarely went to New York City. It is a far drive. So Toronto is the closest big city. So I'd go to a lot of business conferences in Toronto, or, I did real estate with my mom for a while. So we would go to like Brian Buffini real estate conferences there. I love Toronto.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. My sister used to play tennis, championships up there. So we would drive over. So yeah. That's why it perked my interest when you said you were based out of Toronto.
Yeah, very cool. Well, if you ever come back, let me know. It's Toronto's getting bigger and bigger and busier. So it's a very special place.
It is. Okay, so let's get started. Let's first start with how you got into golf. I know you mentioned you played for Ohio State, but let's go back to the beginning. How did you get into the sport as a child? From the beginning.
So my dad, similar to a lot of stories out there, the dads love the golf and they need someone to play with them. Yeah. So I have a sister, I've got a mom, and my dad needed a little friend. So out I went. And I honestly remember at the beginning, I was like, this is boring. It's hard. Like, how is this going to be fun? But I did happen to have a little bit of a crush on this guy that played golf. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really like golf, but I certainly like this person.
It gave you a little extra motivation. It was nothing like an innocent crush to help you do things that you don't want to do.
Well, that was kind of what happened. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to head out to the golf course every day.
Yeah.
And honestly, by chasing this guy around the golf course for the better part of a summer, I actually got really good at golf. And so that was sort of the beginning. So I have to thank him very much. He's since married another Lindsay, so all is well.
Yeah.
But no, it was really kind of a fun start to the game. And so that was how I got going. But I was a bit of a later bloomer. Like I was 14. And so in the world of getting a golf scholarship, as you know, I mean, that was sort of like grade 7, 8 for me. Mm-hmm. And so it was a quick uptake from there, and played in a bunch of the tournaments, got recruited, headed down to the States, and that was sort of how golf got going for me.
Yeah. And how was your experience at Ohio State and playing college golf?
Wild.
Yeah.
Like It was really fun. It was really intense. You Americans do it well. You do sports well. Like I remember going on my recruiting trip and it was the Ohio State Michigan football game
Oh boy.
and thinking to myself, what is this? Like, this is the coolest thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And, we've got like my mom and my grandma showing up to our sports games. This is like 110,000 people. And so that was a really easy way to say yes to going to that school. And obviously the team and the coach, and I studied business while I was there. Everything was a great fit. And I had a pretty incredible time while I was down there. I mean, we got to travel all over the place. I was part of the traveling team, which was great. But it was like learning how to have a full-time job while you're down there,
Exactly. What did a training schedule look like? What was the season? Because again, did you have a fall season and a spring season, or how'd that work?
So I don't know if you know this, but golf and baseball have the two longest seasons of any college sport because we have fall and spring. So we would train basically from like end of August to December. And then you'd have a little break for Christmas. And then tournaments would start up February to the end of May. And so you were just kind of always on. And a typical week, so we would practice usually 6 days a week, about 4 hours a day on golf. And then in the mornings, it was sort of like 3 or 4 mornings a week for an hour and a half to 2 hours of physical training. So it was busy, but then you're traveling every other week for golf. So if you're leaving Wednesday to Sunday, you're kind of always either doing your work ahead or catching up afterwards. So it was busy. Time management skills really got refined while I was there.
Overall, an incredible experience, or was there any struggles at all that?
I think the struggle is that like your score really matters. Yeah. And so in golf, like now it's kind of nice for me. I can just play golf and enjoy golf, but keeping a low scoring average, if you have one game that is just not optimal, it really inflates that scoring average quickly. So, I think managing also the weather conditions, obviously it was a Midwest school. So I remember some days where it's like snow and hail and rain, and it sort of felt like survival of the mentally fit human really did well. So I would say those were the hardest parts, was just kind of the mental management around score. And, you're also competing within your team, right? There's 13 girls on a team and only 5 travel. So you're always competing against your teammates to then try to get away to go on the trip. So,
yeah. And at that time, how did the competitions look? Did you travel? You traveled as the 5-person team. And then was it an individual round, stroke play round, and all the scores are added up? How did it work when you were there?
So when I was there, it was 5. So 5 golfers count 4 scores. Okay. So one person that had the highest score would get dropped and we'd count 4. So it was kind of an individual competition and also a team competition at the same time for each event. And some days, I don't know if people know this, but some days quite often we would play 36 holes. And when I come and tell my friends this now, I was like, 36 holes, carrying my bag. We didn't stop for lunch. Like your little brown bag would come out on the 18-hole loop, get handed to you. And it was quite the step count.
Yeah. But again, you're used to that. You're training for that.
Totally.
Oh my God. If I had to do that now, on the 23rd hole, I would be done. Tap me out.
Totally.
I need to go home and rest, please.
Yeah. I know. Exactly. So it was a really wild experience, but back to that mental part, keeping yourself mentally in it for 36 holes. I mean, it was like 10 hours of golf. So that was a really interesting part. Yeah.
So after you graduated, you went into working right away, or was there any point after college that you thought, okay, I might want to try and take golf to the next level? Or were you pretty good at putting the clubs down and moving on to the next chapter?
That was a really interesting part. So I was on the Canadian national team. And so my last year of school, I was still on the team. So I was still an amateur golfer. So I did come home to Toronto, and I have, back to my wonderful parents, they were like, this is awesome. We're so supportive of your golf, but like, it's time to get a job. Let's like get a real job here. Golf. Now I laugh at our jobs because I'm like, is this really a job? Like, this is so fun. But it was time to get a real desk job. So I went and got a job at TaylorMade, Adidas Golf. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was going to be like super glam. And it was so fun to work there. But, like any starting job, my job was to steam the shirts and make sure they look good in the showroom and, like get the spreadsheet organized. And so it was definitely an awakening when I went from like playing golf to being in the world or business of golf. But I had a wonderful job career there for a while, and always actually was in sports marketing. I went and worked for Puma afterwards, after TaylorMade. And it was really in this like realm of corporate life and being back home in Toronto, where I would have my friends, my colleagues, my mom's friends, sister's friends saying like, I need to learn how to play golf. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm missing out on every corporate golf event. I need to figure out how to retire with my spouse and have something in common with them. Mm-hmm. I need to, I want to have a girls' night out, whatever it was. But it was like these requests kept happening. And I was sitting in Starbucks one day down the street from my house with one of my best friends. And I was like, this is crazy. I just want to help more women say yes to golf. And this guy was on his computer. And he's sitting like back in the day when people would sit at those long harvest tables, like sharing space.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like looking, listening. And I was like, either he's like total stage 5.
Yeah. What's this creeper doing over here at this harvest table?
Yeah. Anyway, he finally leans over and he's like, oh my gosh, like I've been listening to your whole conversation. I love this. You need to call me. And it turns out he was like a senior VP at one of the largest banks downtown. And he was like, you're onto something. Like, give me a ring. So I thought, well, you know what? It's worth a try. Even if he's weird, let's try it. Give him a call. And he had me come in and give a lunch and learn about, leaning into fear and discomfort and saying yes to an opportunity and talking sort of through golf analogies. And that was kind of the beginning of Iron Lady 12 years ago. It was like, thanks to this person randomly at Starbucks that heard me talking about, honestly, I wasn't thinking about it from a business perspective. It was more of just like a purpose of wanting to help more women get into it.
Yeah. So explore golf.
Yeah, totally. And it's not that hard if you know enough of the basics to get you out there and over the hump.
Yeah. Okay, let's back up for a second because you said first, I'm going to back way up. So TaylorMade Adidas, you said that you worked for initially. Are they the same company? I didn't realize that if they are.
They were.
Oh, okay.
Split, but they were together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So there was a point that was the same company and now they've split. Very interesting. Okay, and then on to this guy kind of almost validating your idea that day. And when you initially said that, I was thinking, okay, he works at a bank. He wants to almost like start this company and invest in it. But really, he wanted you to come and talk to the company and, embrace golf from all different angles.
Yeah. And I think he wanted to empower the women within his organization to feel like they could say yes. I mean, I did hear the stat one time that 80% of women turn down an opportunity to play golf, not because they don't want to, just because it's easier to say no to things that scare us.
Yeah. How do you think, I know this is probably almost the foundation of Iron Lady Golf to begin with. Then what was the next step with Iron Lady Golf?
So I still had to have a
beginning. Yeah.
Okay. So the beginning was lunch and learn happened. And then from that lunch and learn, this group of women are going, great. Now we want to learn how to play golf. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I know how to play golf. I don't know how to teach golf. Very different skill sets. Mm-hmm. And so I remember going to this pro and saying, could you help me with this? Like, I've got this idea. I'm going to bring this group out. I'll teach sort of the rules and the etiquette and how you show up and you teach the golf part. Great. We did it. And I remember after that very first session, at the end of it, they go, now what? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now what? There's nothing. Like, I don't know. Now what? But I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like pulling it right out of my rear end. Yeah. I was like, we run these like monthly programs. And they're like, great. So, they show up to these monthly programs that we figure out. And then at the end of that, it was that now what? again.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, here we go. Okay, what makes sense? Let's get you on course. So then it was like, let's get you on course. And then the now what turned into, let's go away together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know you do these incredible retreats, and I wish I could come to your desert classic this year, but I've got a little bun in the oven. Yeah. So anyway, we've done now like 50 trips, which has been great adventures. And then, what I realized the most was that they're seeking community. And oftentimes, especially for women specifically that aren't members of a club, or like, how do you even get started with golf? They need something. And so once they were ready to leave the learning nest, I was like, okay, you can't just come and show up to lessons every week. That's not really the glue that's going to make golf stick for you. Like, we've got to find you like-minded people in a safe environment where you can play golf together. So we started creating these leagues, and a league is really just like a weekly playing group. Mm-hmm. And we've, partnered with different golf courses and create this like mobile golf club, essentially, where they can leave the learning nest, still feel safe as this like entry point to golf. And it's been incredible. Yeah. So that's the thing that we're doing.
So at what point did you go and become a teaching professional? Get your PGA class, is it A? Class A? Yeah, teaching professional status.
I felt like there was this tipping point where I was teaching, like I was like figuring out this business and teaching and all of it. But I kind of felt like I was a bit of a doctor without a PhD, like just practicing and doing it. And I thought, okay, I really want to lean into this business and building this community, and I need to go like affirm this. So it took a while. I think it took like 6 years to get it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I probably did that, 10 years ago. So pretty early on, I got it started and became official, which is great. But I'll be honest, the most learning I've done through the teaching is just by doing it, by seeing so many swings over time. Like, there's no manual. I do a lot of YouTube learning from other great coaches out there trying to figure it out. But I'm sure, and I apologize publicly to the people that I screwed up at the beginning, thinking that I was giving them the right tips and probably didn't.
I doubt it. I'm sure, we all hear things a certain way. Some things help, some things don't. So no reason to feel apologetic for that at all.
Totally. But so it's been lots of fun figuring it out. Now we've got a roster of probably about 18 coaches at Iron Lady that are helping to run all of our programs. And it's been amazing. Yeah.
And we're going to do a deep dive into the leagues and your travel and all those events too. But I want to know, when did you stop competing as a golfer?
Ooh, you know what? I stopped competing pretty quickly. Like, once the national team stuff was finished for me, I don't think I really competed. And I do want to go back. And I actually, I wonder if one day I'll get my amateur status back and like, play in all these fun tournaments. But for me, it's one of those where if I'm not practicing and I don't have a ton of time to like get my own game ready, I didn't totally feel prepared to enter into competition. So I love playing right now for fun, but I don't play enough golf to feel like confident stepping up to the tee for an actual scoring event.
Yeah. Well, that would be so fun if you got your amateur status back and you just went out there and did the thing,
I'm thinking about like this like comeback,
Yeah. But also showing your community, like what it's all about and the ups and downs of it. And it's like, you know what? I'm still here with you, but I'm going to go venture and do this and see how it goes, play a couple events a year.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Okay. So let's get into the leagues. Okay. Because I looked on the website and I looked at the leagues, and my first thought was, this is really fucking impressive. Okay. Because again, I know how much it takes to build something, like build this community that you already have, the thousands and thousands of women that are a part of Iron Lady Golf. And I was looking at your leagues and I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. So tell me how this works. Tell me the basis of the leagues. How does someone join? What does it look like and feel like? And also how you manage it on the back end. Like, how do you make it happen?
Yeah. Thank you. By the way, I'm so pumped about the leagues, but you're absolutely right. Like they're an operational beast.
Yeah.
In terms of, figuring it all out. And I told you how they were, quote unquote, born, which was basically out of a need for people to leave that learning nest and just go out and play. But they weren't confident enough yet to make their own tea time, or the bigger pain point, finding other women to play with.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part that I'm sure you see as well. And so I thought, okay, how can we help facilitate this? And so pre-COVID, golf courses needed help, right? Like they had empty tea time slots, let's say Monday at 4. And so I remember going to our first course, and it's called Flemington Park Golf Club. And if you ever come to Toronto, I'm bringing you, because we can wear our jeans and nobody will look twice.
Oh, I love that. Even though I would never do that.
I know.
Meaning I'm such a weirdo about what I wear while I'm golfing, because I feel in my soul that it affects my golf game. And I know there's some listeners listening that are like, oh yeah, I know what you mean.
I totally get it. But I think what's so amazing about this place is that there's just no judgment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show up in your bathing suit and they'd be like, have a great game.
Exactly.
It's so cool. So it's run by this wonderful family. And I went and, presented this idea. And I said, what if I brought a group to you and we took, where do you need help in your tea time slot? And they said, oh, Mondays, between 4 and 6. I was like, done. So we prepay them for the season.
Wow.
And so they're guaranteed the revenue for the year. So it's kind of like a no-brainer on the golf side, because you have that revenue up front. You also have this new community of golfers that, by the way, probably have families or friends and other people they want to bring back. And you also have us that's running all the organizational administration operations piece of it. So the way that we structure the league essentially is this idea that you're a member of the Iron Lady community for the year, right? So we've got these master classes that we're running right now, everything from golf tips to mobility to we had the TaylorMade engineers on this week telling us all about equipment and golf balls and what you should be getting. So there's lots of learning to be had throughout the season and ways to connect socially. We've got tip nights, we've got social nights, games nights. So it's really tried to be packed with much more. It's not super competitive. So this program specifically is a great on-ramp for people that are looking to get into golf and kind of find their way. And it's the way we structured it is 12 weeks and then 8 weeks as well. So it's awesome. We started with 1 and we're up to, I think we've got 32 this year.
Unbelievable. Again, I was scrolling, I kept scrolling. I'm like, when does this end? How does she, it is very impressive. So, okay, let me make sure I understood this correctly. So they're going to pay a fee, almost like a membership fee, to be a part of Iron Lady Golf. But then they're going to tell you, okay, I want to do this league, but I want to be a part of the Flemington League at the same time. So they pay the fee. They automatically get, access to this weekly league that lasts 12 weeks. And then they also get a bunch of virtual trainings plus access to be able to sign up for other events, probably before anyone else, I would imagine.
Yeah, totally. Tip nights with a coach live. So the coach comes out and helps them with their game. They get drink nights at the club. So it's a one-time fee for the year. And each course is a little bit different in their pricing, just based on the tier level of the course. But yeah, it's a one-time fee for the season, just like you would pay if you're a member at a private golf club. You're a member for the season. Whether I golf once or 300 times, I'm paying the same price. So yeah, it works out really, really nicely. And if you can't go 1 week, we've got everything built out online where you can have a guest take your spot for free for the week.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So that you don't feel like, oh, well, I can make 10 of the 12. And it's like, you know what, gift it to your pal. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And what happened after COVID? How'd you guide through the COVID high seas?
Well, during COVID, I bought some lights and moved my coffee table and started teaching online in my living room, which, a lot of people did. And it actually worked really well. I had short ceilings. So I was like, grab your kitchen spatula if you can't swing a club and let's get going. And
okay. So now that you mentioned spatula, I was just cooking lunch the other day and I swear to God, I was out of spatulas. I don't know where all the spatulas have gone in my household, but I was like, really? Sorry, I had to add that in. But during COVID in Canada, I mean, even golf courses were completely shut down.
Shut down. Golf was closed, and it was crazy.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was majorly locked down here. So it was hard. And the hard part about it too was that COVID did great things for golf in terms of, spiking the interest in the game and getting more people into it. So that was great. But for the purposes of our, my business brain, it was like, okay, no groups bigger than 4 and can't use practice facilities. And all of a sudden golf is so popular, there's no access to the tee. So it really made group programming near impossible. Mm-hmm. So that part was a little bit tricky. And I'd say, since then we've seen golf courses having wait lists and, not needing as much help, I'd say, in filling their tee sheet. I think things have leveled out a little bit, they've started to find their way. But yeah, I mean, it's great for the game. It's super exciting for the game. And I think that also what did come out of it was the interest that women have in golf, right? And that being the biggest growth category for the game, which is great.
Yeah. Okay. So on to travel. And you can, on your website, you kind of have it sectioned off into travel plus events. So what would you consider an event then?
In about a week and a half, we have a ski day.
Okay. Because so you're venturing off into other sports too, just to get together. Yeah.
It's more, I think to your point, it's more of a community builder and fun. And, we don't have the sunshine all year long, but we've got these great ski hills, hours away. So we'll go and this is our second year doing it. It was really popular. So we'll do it again. But the golf trips are probably more of the main focus for sure.
Yeah. And one other question too about the events and your geographic area to begin with. Do you find that is most of your leagues and events in the Toronto area? How far does it span geographically?
So I would say most of our leagues and learning and events currently are Ontario as a provinces, you have state. Yep. And some people didn't know that when I went to school. So we'll just in case any of your listeners are.
Well, another behind the scenes thing. So I'm getting ready for the Desert Classic, and on our swag bag tags, which is also a bag tag too, I put a label and I'm starting to put where they're from. So Phoenix, Arizona, or San Diego, California. And so when I get the Canadians, I'm thinking to myself, how do I say this? How do I say it? Am I saying Toronto, Ontario? Am I saying Toronto, Canada? I don't know. That was something that actually just happened yesterday where I was like, how do I properly tell people where they're from? Is that weird?
Totally.
So how do you do it?
Where did you go in? I was going to say, where'd you land?
I landed at Regina, Canada. Because I was lazy and didn't want to look up the spelling to Saskatchewan. Is that how you say it?
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. And I have a certain limited space on my labels. And I'm like, am I going to say 3 things? I want the US people to know, you're from Canada. That's important. So what would be the proper way?
I think that's a good call. I think you're right to kind of lead with the city and then end with the country.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. Provinces, it seems confusing to us Americans. It's tough. It's tough for us to translate. But okay, I'm sorry. Go back to where we were at.
We'll drop the province. So anyway, for the purpose of this, it is more province-based, but we're starting to do more across the country as well. We're starting to expand across Canada, which is great. But I would say for the travel people, as you've probably seen, there's less sensitivity on geographics. If you're going to Casa de Campo, then,
anyone and everyone.
Yeah, totally.
You already have daughter? Son?
No, I have a niece. Yeah, 2 nieces. Sorry, not 1, 2.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But you have a bun in the oven right now.
little girl, a little Iron Lady.
Okay. And when is she due?
March 9th. So,
okay. So that's definitely coming up. Congratulations.
Well, that's why I was like, do I have a Desert Classic baby? Like, do I come? I just wanted, like, can Tori be a doula? Like, how's this work?
Well, you know what? It would become an event. It was, we are welcoming.
Really make exciting.
Okay. So how do you think you're going to like, are you prepping ahead of time? You know, you're going to be a brand new mom. You're going to be going into the summer season. How do you think things are going to change? And obviously you don't know, but how are you trying to plan, thinking about planning?
Yeah, and it's a great question, because this has been one of those things where I don't think 2 years ago I could have done this with where, the business was at. And now I feel like we have a great team. So both from an Iron Lady like headquarters perspective of people that are helping with, operations and website and keeping the wheel moving.
Yeah.
And also from a coaching perspective, running the programs, executing them. And, there's a huge part of me that's really excited for Iron Lady 2.0 and what the evolution of this business will be as, I'm expanding what I'm doing and obviously not stepping back in any way, but just sort of to the side. The time will be like a little bit different. And, we're going to Cabot Links and a trip in July. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I think me and my little +1 can do this. Yeah. Like, I think we got to figure out, I honestly, in some ways, I think probably I'll bring her to stuff. I'll leave her. I'm going to figure this out. So my plan right now is to take 12 weeks. By the way, in Canada, we have a year mat leave. Like, people that work at a bank get 1 year off. And sometimes they can take 18 months.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Which is amazing when I hear that, often in the States it's 6 weeks. So, I mean, you're not even, out of the fog.
No, if you had a C-section, you're barely fully recovered.
You're barely driving. Yeah. Like
you must go back to work, but you can't drive there. You're not ready to drive. No, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm thinking sort of like 12 weeks and then, that'll get me to June and we'll see. I don't know. I'm winging it. I also love to work. So I think this is going to be a blended life.
Yeah. I had kind of the same when I had my kids. I love to work too. So it was like making it work between having a newborn and still kind of squeezing in work when I can. And, you make it happen. But having a team around you obviously is key. So you have a Bermuda trip in April, right? So do you have a team member taking care of that?
We've got a group going to Casa de Campo on Saturday. And again, I didn't want a Dominican baby. So we have another coach.
No comment on that, but yes.
Yeah. And then we've got a great coach running Bermuda too. And so, I think also as Iron Lady 2.0 finds its way, this is part of it too. Like I can't wait to keep doing trips, but just not all of them. Like we did 10 last year. And
wow. Okay, let's get into the trips. Okay, so this year, first, how many trips do you have scheduled? So last year was 10. That's unreal. This year it's
4 currently. So we've got Casa de Campo, Bermuda, Cabot Links, and then Bandon Dunes.
Fantastic. So was it just because you had your +1 coming that your schedule got much lighter, or what happened between last year and this year to make that decision from, 10 to much less?
I feel like I have really let go and delegated and figured out how to run the leagues and the Learn program with our team, but I've held travel quite close to me and really been on the trips, done the trips. And so last year, very sadly, my dad passed away at the end of August. And actually, as part of this, what makes this little bun so special too is that basically the day before he passed away, I found out I was having a little girl and I got to tell him. So it was like such a gift and so special. Wow. And he's like my favorite person, but I feel super, super connected to him through her. And so it's a real gift, but I couldn't be as involved in a lot of the stuff last year just because of everything happening.
Yeah.
It actually the silver lining was that it was a little bit of a gift, because I saw that, guess what? Everything still ran. And, a trip, as he was passing away, a trip went to Ireland, so I couldn't go and someone else went, and it was great. And, all of this stuff was happening. And I thought, okay, here we go. Like this business can still run, but the downshift in travel this year for sure was intentional. Just knowing that, you run trips, great trips. It's a lot of work.
So much work.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's high risk, right? Like you're taking people away. They expect a lot. Of course they do, because they're paying a lot to be there and you want to create a great experience. And I just felt, let's just tighten it up this year and run 4 amazing trips. And then we can reshift the gears once the dust has settled and get back into it.
Yeah. It's interesting that you had to step back a little bit and trust that everything would go okay. And it actually did go okay. But I could very much relate to that. Like you get in this spot as a founder, a business owner, that you need to have your hands on everything because you have the pride in it. You want it to look, feel a certain way and be presented a certain way. And no one is going to care as much as you do, But it is quite an experience when you do have to let something go and have someone else do it, take care of it, and realize it's fine. Like you're fine. You can let go of that and it will be great. And it almost allows you to focus on the next thing to help grow the business. But I can very much relate to what you were saying about that. Like it's definitely a weird feeling to hold on to something so tight and think that you have to, and then be forced to, okay, well, there, take care of it. But here's all the notes. Here's everything that needs to happen. And you can't possibly, Yeah. So
loosen the grip.
Yeah, loosen the grip is right. And it is high risk. It is high risk. I mean, there is a reason why what you're doing is not replicated over and over and over again. Because let's face it, there's a demand for it. There is a ginormous, huge, millions of female golfers out there that want to play in leagues, want to do trips, want to have a community like this, but it's not easy to grow what you've grown. And it is a lot of upfront time, energy, and money. And it's all on you.
You're doing. I love what you're doing. And I respect you and it so much because I know exactly how hard it is.
Yeah.
And the risk and the fun.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. And I think you're right. Like I've talked to a lot of people that want to run a trip or and I was like, absolutely. I mean, I'm happy to share all the things, but even just getting the commitment of people to sign up.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and trusting you. I remember my very first trip, I was like, nobody's going to come. Like this is almost like nobody's going to sign up for this. And
no one's going to sign up. I'm going to fail. And then it will all be terrible.
It's going to be terrible. And I remember this one sweet, sweet Iron lady saying to me like, okay, I'll come. So now you've got one. And I was like, okay, we got one. All right. And this woman, I was so desperate. Oh my gosh. This woman called me and she said, I've never golfed before. Can I come? And I was like, you're perfect. Yes, of course you can. Mm-hmm. But like also in my head thinking, oh my God, how the heck am I going to do this one? Yeah. So you have to start somewhere. And I think that's the one thing I've learned with all of this and over time and what you've grown. And I'm really proud of Iron Lady and where we've come. But like, my God, you have to start somewhere. And I think too, back to like us wanting to do everything, I feel like you have to do everything at first. Okay. And by the way, this is sort of this funny little side note, but when I first started this business, and of course you literally are the only person that exists. So you're doing finance, sales, marketing, teaching, like you name it, we're doing it. Uh-huh. But I remember it was really hard to have hard conversations. So what I did was I created Debbie, and Debbie was my fake admin that when I had to have a really hard conversation or send someone a bill or, they were disgruntled about X, Y, and Z, I was like, from Debbie at Iron Lady Golf. so that when I had to teach them the next day, it wasn't so awkward.
Exactly. No, I know exactly. Like I've heard of people doing that before, and it's such a brilliant idea. It still just separates you. Even though you're not separated, it's like in your mind, it separates you, and you are not obviously the person that said that or reprimanded them. So, everything's normal.
I know. It was, I mean, I giggle about it now, but you do what you needed to do, right?
Yeah.
To get it done. So
how about social media? How has social media come into play with Iron Lady, and how do you manage it, and how has it evolved over the years?
Again, for a long time, it was just me. And then we do have a social media coordinator that helps out. And I think, social media it's so fascinating. Like, I think you do an incredible job, by the way, so good. I admire also like your bravery to just talk to that camera. Like you just and I quite a bit introverted. So for me, it's just my skin crawls at the thought of turning the camera to my face and trying to talk to it. And I just love it. I love your sense of humor on it. I think it's so funny, and interviewing some of these hysterical people. So anyway, kudos to you. I got to lean in. I got to get a chapter out of your book, get some of your energy. But, I think for us too, we want to be the place that people look to for help with tips and learning and being up on things. And I think it also becomes a fine balance. I would rather it be sort of an entertainment, fun learning experience, but we're also trying to share what we're up to. You know what I mean? And it's the balance of finding I don't want to be pushing and promoting our programs, but social media is amazing. The way that, I was able to connect with you and watching all the really cool things that people are doing out there, and it's free.
Yeah.
Pretty well. So,
and are you able to look at all the quote unquote cool things and know okay, I can maybe test that idea out, but I don't need to test out those 5, or are you like me sometimes where I'm okay, I'm going to go dabble in all of these and see what works. And then it kind of scatters my brain, and it's not necessarily a good thing. Are you able to kind of see things that you want to test out and be more regimented about it? Or are you an idea person and you're just kind of grabbing everything?
I'm I'm the classic entrepreneurial idea person where I'm oh my God, this is so cool. And this person's doing this. And what if we tried something that way? Creative brain. And then I feel our team is let's have process. So on Tuesdays, we're posting this. And on Wednesdays, we're doing that. And I was oh, but there's something so fun that's happening that we should be talking about. Yeah. Anyway, they do a great job of maybe staying in the lane. But I just love seeing everything that's out there, and that, I feel back to you, I just feel you're cutting edge on a lot of the stuff that you're doing, and it's fun and the energy's there, and it's just great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So wrapping this up, I wanted to talk about the 1 second rule. You had mentioned it to me, and I think it's very simple and very brilliant. And I think it will help a lot of listeners. So tell me what the 1 second rule is all about.
So the 1 second rule is something that I have focused on for a long time. And I think it's the easiest tip that you can give someone. So many of the faults that happen out there on the golf course, we leave a putt short, we've topped our 7-iron, our drive is blasted out to the right. It's because you've looked up 1 second too early. Yep. You're excited. You're excited to see where the ball's gone, obviously. But, Annika does the best job out of them all, where she would listen. I mean, you were just at Pia and Lynn's school, and I saw, and this whole concept of listening for the putt to drop, that feels extreme. I don't think I can get there. I might be listening for a while. But if I wait 1 second, at least then I've given it a solid stroke, right? So I would just try to basically putt, wait for 1, and then look.
Yeah. And speaking of putting, something that helps me personally is when it's a short putt, let's say within 5 feet, so 5 feet and in, I will say to myself, keep your head down, listen for the putt to drop, because that's usually not a long period of time. And I am striking the ball better. I am finishing the stroke. And I do consider myself a pretty good putter on those short putts, but I do have to tell myself that, okay, listen for that putt to drop. Don't move a soul. Don't move anything until you hear that ball drop in the hole.
That's exactly it. And I think it's such a good mantra, right? You know, the last thing you can say to yourself is stay down. Because remember too, the brain doesn't understand the word don't.
Yeah.
So when it's don't look up, it hears look up.
We're checking things out.
Yeah, we're seeing where that's going. So you can top a putt just like you can top a 7-iron. And basically, same. And it's halfway there. And then we wonder why it's halfway there.
And it's like way right too. And you're like, why is it way right? That's a horrible read.
Yeah, bad read, Patty. So yeah, I just think, you know, if you're trying to keep your game simple and you want one thought out on the golf course that's playable as well, right? Just stay down for 1 extra second on every shot.
I love that tip. All right. So what's going on in the Iron Lady Golf future? Give us one uncomfortable, scary goal that you're scared to say out loud. And maybe you haven't even told your team yet, but let's put it out in the universe. Let's start it here, and then we'll have it on video so that in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years from now, when you accomplish it, you can say, I said it. I said it.
Fun.
So tell me.
So fun. Okay.
Give me something. Give our listeners something.
Within 3 years, we will be all across Canada and in 6 locations across the US.
Yeah, that's without a doubt. I know that's going to happen. So I will be sure to save this video. I might even just message it or email it to you so that you have it on hand, because that is going to happen. And I even think 3 years is a stretch. I'm going to say it happens in 2 years. Your passion is very clear. And we're doing Zoom, people. Unfortunately, Lindsay's not here in person, but I can feel it. What you're doing is incredibly special. And I know it has helped. Well, I can see the numbers. It has helped thousands and thousands of women get started in golf. And if you are a beginner, and I'll just say this in general, if you just started playing golf maybe less than a year, maybe even less than 2 years, and you haven't found a ladies league yet, I'm telling you, that is where amazing spot to start. Go find a ladies league. And if you're in the Ontario area, you know, Iron Lady Golf already has it set up ready to go for you, but start there. Go to your favorite courses. Ask them, is there a ladies league here? That's the best way that you can find a league, is go to the courses you already play, go to the pro shop, ask the guy that's behind the desk, say, hey, do you have a group of ladies that play every week? And they usually, if it's a yes, they'll know contact information to give to you. So that is my tip for the day. And then let's end on an idea, because I am an idea machine too. Okay. And I feel like there is a way for us to collaborate. And so I am thinking of an amazing trip. Okay. We pick a hot destination somewhere. I mean, Cabot Links is, I'd love to make my way there. So maybe you guys will have to go back there. But what if we had like a US team versus a Canadian team?
Now you're talking.
Stop.
Now you're talking.
Okay. 10 US players, 10 Iron Lady players. Little friendly competition. Maybe it's offered to our VIPs first, you know, to entice them. And we have the most sick, ultimate girls trip and competition there's out there. Putting that out.
Done. And I think, you know, with one text, one group, I think the spots would be filled.
And I also think whoever I'm texting, which I know who it is now, she'll be like, stop with the ideas. We have the busiest month of the year. Put this on the back burner. But let's make that happen. Again, whether it's in a year, 2 years, 5 years, let's collaborate somehow, some way. And, you know, at your earliest opportunity, if you're ever in Arizona, let's get together. But I'm sure our paths will cross in person very soon.
I can't wait. So nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
So nice to meet you, Lindsay. And congratulations on everything you're doing. Good luck with everything. And congratulations on your +1. And your new baby girl coming in March. That is like around the corner. That can happen today, really. You're at that mark where, and I can't even tell you're pregnant. Holy shit.
She's there. She's kicking away.
All right. Until next time. Thanks, Lindsay, for being on. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Corey. So nice chatting with you.